Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about the movie Quiz Lady. This just came out maybe within the last week or two. This stars Sandra Oh, Awkwafina, Will Ferrell. There are a lot of kind of bigger name actors and actresses in this one. This one is slated as a comedy, but I will say right out of the gate, this strikes me more as like a drama comedy or a comedy drama, something along the lines of like Stranger Than Fiction, which also would have starred Will Ferrell, something like Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell in it, Little Miss Sunshine, Dan in Real Life, something like that. The ones that are a little bit more like a life lesson or character development growth, but with some comedy thrown in. When I think of something that is just like strictly comedy, I usually think of something like Jim Carrey's Ace Ventura, something along those lines, where the sole motivation of that movie is just to be stupid and like just make you laugh. Whereas Quiz Lady, for me, is not that. So I will say, just for transparency and honesty's sake, when I saw the trailer for Quiz Lady, I was like, oh, that looks cute, but it wasn't necessarily on my radar as something to watch or review. But there isn't really too much that's out right now or was out a couple of days ago when I was watching. There are a couple of more things that have hit or been released that I'm excited about right now, but Quiz Lady wasn't a huge one for me. I ended up tuning into it just one night because I didn't really have that much else going on. There wasn't really anything on my list that I knew I needed to tune in for. And this one, I will say, surprised me. I will kind of be honest. Again, like I said, I don't think it's a huge comedy movie. There were definitely some elements or some moments in this that I found pretty funny. For those that aren't familiar, kind of the story of what's going on is Awkwafina and Sandra Oh's characters of Jenny and Anne are two sisters that kind of grow up together. There's a bit of an age gap there. They have a bit of a troubled childhood / life, but they end up being completely different personality-wise. Sandra Oh's character is very flamboyant, very, extroverted. And then Anne is more of that like introvert. She keeps to herself. She's pretty quiet. She doesn't have a lot of friends, that kind of thing. She lives alone. And through kind of some strange things that happen to her, their mother goes missing, and her dog gets kidnapped because of like her mom's debt, that they sort of end up going on this journey together that brings them closer together. So that's why I say it's not typically what I would consider a comedy, because there are a lot more elements of them sort of reconnecting. There are a lot of more touching or more sad moments. There is this one sort of moment kind of towards the end of the film where the character of Anne and Will Ferrell's character have this sort of really sweet moment where I was sitting there and I was like, well, great, now I'm going to cry. So like, to me, that's not really a comedy, but this one I found really nice. Like, it's one of those movies that I would consider feel good, where if maybe I'm a little bit down that day or, kind of need something to just pep me up a little bit, Quiz Lady, I think, is going to be on my list of ones to like turn to kind of feel a little bit better, have a little bit of a laugh, and still kind of end up feeling good at the end of it. There were a couple of like just really fun, cool interactions in this movie. Awkwafina's character of Anne and her interaction with the person who plays Benjamin Franklin, like this sort of, they're at a Benjamin Franklin hotel. That is just the cutest thing ever. I almost wish that they did like a couple of sort of extra scenes at the end, just sort of showing where the characters ended up. And I really wish that they had kind of showed some scenes of Anne and the guy who plays Benjamin Franklin like getting together, because they seemed to have this sort of romantic interaction with each other without necessarily intending to be romantic, if that makes sense. It's just like, you know that there could be something there, even though the movie doesn't ever at any point explore that in any way. At the end of the day, though, I will say, despite the fact that this wasn't really one that I had intended to watch, I am very glad that I did. It was kind of one of those movies that I think very easily could have slid under my radar and I would have missed it completely. And I have to say that I'm really glad that I watched this one, and I'm really glad that it didn't slip under my radar and kind of get away. It's not the one that got away. Quiz Lady was just, I don't know, it was just a good time. It was all around fun, but there were a lot of really cool sentimental moments in there as well. That is why I say it's more like a Stranger Than Fiction type comedy. It's one of those ones where, you know, it's not just a giggle for an hour or so and then you walk away. Like, there's some really cool heart-touching moments in this. So I would definitely recommend giving it a watch if it had not been something you were planning to watch, because I think it really is kind of worth the go. So those are my thoughts on Quiz Lady. I would love to know what you think if you have seen this one. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.